Friend, Bruce Willis. He's going through a difficult time. What does his friendship mean to you?
It's just, again, it brings out the fragility of life.
He was the man of 1,000 faces, the chameleon of Hollywood. For decades, he had lived a life of controlled chaos, a master of reinvention, a silent force on screen who could command a scene with just a look. He was the quiet one, the introspective actor who found his voice in the characters he played, a man who built an empire on a legacy of method acting and intense dedication.
What's Bruce Willis? Real name. Walter Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis.
But for all the roles he inhabited, the most profound transformation would be one he never saw coming. It was a role with no script, no director, and no end, a silent battle that would define his most important act yet. The world knew him as an enigma. He had a reputation for being elusive, for preferring a simple life away from the Hollywood glare. His life was a study in contradictions, a master of his craft, yet a man who valued his privacy above all else.
What was Bruce Willis's first movie? The First Deadly Sin with Frank Sinatra.
He was a force of nature on a movie set, a whirlwind of intensity and focus. But in his personal life, he was a gentle patriarch, a loving husband, and a fiercely devoted father. He was a man who had everything: acclaim, respect, a beautiful family.
Happy birthday, dear Dad.
Just like that dog.
Happy birthday to you.
Right at it.
And yet, he had always seemed to be searching for something more. The whispers started subtly, a change in his posture, a slight hesitation in his step. The public, so used to dissecting every detail of a celebrity's life, simply saw a man aging with a certain grace.
If you're going to say you love someone, say it now. And so it bothers me a great deal because I started with him,
Yeah, well, I know he appreciates all your support, so thanks for being a good friend.
What does Bruce Willis look like? This is it. I think you got it.
They didn't see the unseen enemy, the quiet villain that was already writing the final, unscripted act. It began not as a dramatic fall, but as a slow, creeping shadow. A missed beat on a red carpet, a moment of confusion during an interview, a small tremor in his hand that was dismissed as a sign of stress. In 2014, his life would take a different turn, a diagnosis that would forever change the trajectory of his story. His doctors confirmed he had been suffering from a form of Parkinson's disease for years. For an actor whose career was built on physical and emotional control,
it's good to see three such physical and heroic figures sitting together in a friendly way.
Yeah.
Are you chums?
Yeah, we're all friends.
Absolutely.
Are you?
Yeah.
You can't really stand beside each other, can you?
Crossed poles.
the diagnosis was a cruel twist of fate. It was a thief that was not just stealing his motor skills, but threatening to rob him of the very thing that made him a master of his craft, his ability to command his own body. He had to make a choice: retreat from the public eye and fight his battle in private, or use his platform to shed light on a debilitating disease. He chose to fight. He chose to be an advocate. He announced his diagnosis not with a cry for sympathy, but with a quiet, powerful determination. He spoke of his journey with a grace that was both profound and inspiring. The camera no longer focused on his subtle facial expressions or his intense gaze, but on the man behind the persona, a man whose vulnerability became his greatest strength.
And now 49-year-old Emma Hemming Willis is going to tell the story of an unexpected journey. She has written a book shining a light on the little-known disease that ambushed her husband 3 years ago, and giving a lifeline to caregivers. If they are reeling, panicked, so was she. She says the subtle symptoms began when she noticed the buoyant girl dad seemed subdued.
Bruce Willis dropped in the other day.
And now Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis.
Oh no. You are so cool. You know, you are really cool.
One of Hollywood's toughest heroes is facing a battle for his own health now.
It's called the cruelest disease you never heard of. Bruce Willis has gone public with his diagnosis of frontotemporal dementia.
But as he began to dedicate his time and resources to raising awareness for Parkinson's, a disease that affects millions but often goes unnoticed and misunderstood, He established a foundation, a beacon of hope for those who were living with the same diagnosis. He became the face of a movement, and in doing so, he found a new purpose, a mission that transcended the glamour and fame of his past life. He was no longer just an actor. He was a teacher, a healer, and a symbol of quiet resilience. Narrator. The story wasn't about a Hollywood ending. It was about a different kind of victory. It was about a man who, when faced with an insurmountable challenge, chose not to give up, but to give back. It was about a warrior who found a new fight, a new purpose, and a new way to inspire. The narrative of his life shifted from one of cinematic triumphs to one of personal heroism. The dramatic arc wasn't about a final act on screen. It was about the daily struggle to live with dignity, to connect with his family, and to leave a legacy of kindness and courage. His story became a testament to the idea that true strength isn't about the absence of fear or pain, but about how you face it. He continued to live his life with a quiet grace, his public appearances becoming less frequent, but no less impactful. He would smile and wave to his fans, his eyes still holding that same intense fire, a silent testament to the spirit that refused to be broken. His family, a unit of unwavering support, stood by him, their love a powerful shield against the physical and emotional toll of the disease. They spoke of his enduring spirit, his dry sense of humor, and his unwavering love for them. They became his voice when his own began to falter, his advocates when he could no longer advocate for himself. In the silence, a new kind of communication was born, a language of love, compassion, and shared experience that was more powerful than any dialogue he had ever delivered. The final scenes of his story are still being written, but the legacy is already clear. It is not a tale of a hero who was defeated by his own body, but of a man who, in his quiet struggle, became a greater hero than any character he ever played. It is a story of a silent fighter, a man who showed the world that even in the face of the ultimate challenge, you can still find purpose, you can still inspire, and you can still find love. He taught us that a life well lived is not defined by the roles you play, but by the quiet acts of courage you perform when no one is watching, and by the love you share with those who matter most. As Bruce's condition became clearer, the conversation shifted from his career to his humanity. In Hollywood, he had always been larger than life. On set, he had a reputation for toughness, confidence, even stubbornness. Directors spoke about his sharp instincts, his humor between takes, his ability to lighten tension. But with frontotemporal dementia, the qualities that defined him, speech, timing, wit, were stripped away piece by piece. And in that stripping away, a different kind of Bruce emerged, vulnerable, tender, dependent on those who loved him. Friends and former co-stars began to speak publicly. Actors like John Travolta and Sylvester Stallone expressed their sadness, their memories of the Bruce they knew. Travolta called him a brother, someone he shared not only the screen with, but life moments. Stallone said his heart broke watching the decline of someone once so strong. Directors and producers recalled his professionalism, his humor, his unpredictability, his spark. What stood out most, though, was the way fans responded. Tributes poured in, not just from colleagues, but from millions of ordinary people who had grown up with his films, who felt like they knew him. They had cheered for John McClane crawling through air ducts. They had cried watching The Sixth Sense. They had laughed at his smirk, his one-liners, his charm. And now, they sent that love back when he needed it most. Emma Hemming Willis became his voice. She posted updates, spoke in interviews, raised awareness for FDD. She described herself as a care partner, not only a wife. She spoke honestly about the exhaustion, the grief that begins long before death, the strange limbo of losing someone in fragments while they are still alive. She admitted to moments of sadness, but she also spoke of joy, how small gestures, smiles, and touches became more profound when words faded. She called Bruce her true partner still, present in silence, present in being. TheGuardian.com. The Willis family became advocates, using their platform to bring attention to FTD, a disease still little known compared to Alzheimer's. Organizations dedicated to dementia research noticed a surge in donations after the Willis announcement. Families affected by the same diagnosis found solidarity in his story. Suddenly, a global audience was learning about frontotemporal dementia, about its cruelty, about its impact not only on patients but on caregivers, children, families. In this way, Bruce's life, even in illness, carried meaning beyond the screen. TheFTD.org. As months turned to years, the question of legacy grew louder. For decades, Bruce Willis was Hollywood's everyman hero. He wasn't the invincible muscle of Schwarzenegger or the polished charm of Tom Cruise. He was bruised, bloody, sarcastic, human. He played men who stumbled, who bled, who feared, but who pushed forward anyway. John McClane in Die Hard redefined the action genre, an ordinary cop caught in extraordinary circumstances, fighting barefoot through glass. That image of Bruce limping, bleeding, gritting his teeth became an eternal symbol of resilience. And now, in his illness, that same resilience was mirrored in real life. Different battle, same willpower, same grit, same humanity. His family often looked back on his career with pride, rewatching his movies, celebrating not just the fame, but the joy he gave audiences. His eldest daughter, Rumor, described the comfort of hearing her father's voice in films, preserved forever. Scout spoke of playing his records, listening to him sing, because Bruce wasn't only an actor. He had once been a musician, recording albums of blues and rock. Tallulah shared photographs, her favorite memories, and spoke openly about missing the father who could speak freely, who could joke endlessly. For them, revisiting his art was not just nostalgia. It was preservation. A way of keeping him alive in ways the disease could not touch. People.com. As Bruce's world narrowed, his family's world expanded. Emma talked about the role of community, friends, extended family, even strangers who offered support. She admitted it was not easy. Caregiving is relentless. It is day after day of repetition, patience, exhaustion. And yet, she said, there is beauty in it too. Because when speech disappears, presence becomes everything. When sentences fade, touch becomes language. A hand held, a smile shared, a glance across the room. These become entire conversations. She told the world that she still sees love in Bruce's eyes. Still sees recognition. Still sees her husband. Meanwhile, experts used his case to remind the public of the realities of dementia. Dr. Bruce Miller, an authority on FDD, explained that frontotemporal dementia often strikes earlier than Alzheimer's, sometimes in people in their 50s or 60s, disrupting families at the peak of their lives. It progresses gradually but steadily. For some, language is the first to go. For others, behavior changes. For Bruce Willis, it was his words, his tool, his weapon, his gift, that disappeared first. And for a man who built his life on words, whether whispered in suspense, shouted in action, or delivered as a joke, this was especially cruel. W.E.B. Musk, edu. Through it all, the family repeated the same message: gratitude. Gratitude for fans, gratitude for kindness, gratitude for the simple moments that still remained. They asked for compassion, not pity. They asked for attention to the disease, not just to the celebrity. They wanted Bruce's story to help others, to shine light on what millions of families endure quietly. And in that way, his story was no longer just about one actor. It was about all of them, all who have loved and lost in slow motion.